Hey guys, welcome back. So in our previous video, we took a look at how this character works and how we can download it. And we also went over all the controllers and their meaning and all of that stuff, right? Then we ended up making a fun test experiment animation of him pushing a heavy crate, just going across the stage, right? So take a look at that if you haven't seen that yet, but this is kind of going to build on top of that. So we also in our previous video covered the difference between IK and FK controllers and what that means. And in this video, let's just do something simple, right? I was thinking it would be fun to attempt to get him, do like a walk cycle. What would that take, right? So let's go ahead and see if we can get him walking in some kind of a fun, playful way. So for this, what I'm going to do is, just like we covered in our previous video, I would like to put these weapons in his hands, and maybe he can just kind of hold them as he's, as he's walking forward, right? So to do that, what I need to do is I'm going to select, let's see, one of the weapons, right? And go to pinning, and I'm just going to drag middle mouse drag to pin the first weapon in his right hand. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to select pinning, and I'm going to put it in his left hand. Okay, very cool. Next, what I would like to do is, I'm not 100% happy with how they're aligned by default. So let me do a couple things. I would like to turn off this button here to make sure I don't select the mesh. I just want to select the controllers. And I'm going to select, let me select this knife here. I'm going to press W. And I'm just going to position it a little bit better so it doesn't feel like it's going into his hand. I can also press E, and let me just spin this a little more, and press W, and I think just something along these lines is a little bit better. All right, and let me do the same thing with this one as well. I'm just going to select this yellow controller, and let me just make sure that I do, and then I'm going to press W to get it into kind of a better position. And let's make sure it makes sense, right? Let's do the same thing. Press E, get it into a better position. Press W, move it away from the hand. And you can see how that's looking, right? That looks a little bit better. All right, cool. Next, to get started, what I would like to do is let's go ahead and just select all of the controllers. And let's press S on our keyboard to set the first keyframe, right? Now we can just start kind of posing him. But before we do, let's cover a couple things. One of them being frames per second. Let's assume this is going to be a game character and we want to actually use this in the game. So instead of 24, I'm going to switch this to, let's switch this to 30 frames per second. All right. Once we switch this to 30 frames per second, you can see by default the timeline is going to extend to be a little bit longer as well. So at 30 frames per second, let's have him kind of walk semi-fast. So I'm going to go to 24, and this is going to be my loop, right? My animation loop is going to be 24 frames total. All right, very cool. So let's see, what would be the very first step for getting him walking, right? Well, the first step is going to be definitely going to be creating the initial step, right? So let's just jump right into this. I'm going to select his left foot, and I'm just going to kind of move this forward. And we'll do something like that. Let's go ahead and grab his back foot and move it back. All right. And that's going to be the beginning. And if we wanted to, maybe we can even bring them in a little more so it doesn't feel like his legs are spread out too much, right? So that's going to be step one. Very cool. Step two, I'm going to grab, let's make sure that the hand controllers are actually set to forward kinematics, right? And we covered that in our previous video. If we grab this middle controller and try to bring him down, we can see that the hands are not moving because they're currently set in the inverse kinematics, right, IK. So if I click on this little button here, hold down the shift key, select this controller, I can come up here, IK, FK, and just drag it to the right, and that's going to switch this to 1, and now I can see that these controllers are indicating that he is in his arms are in forward kinematics, right? Cool. So that means if I grab this controller here in the middle and press W, you can see that now the arms are going to follow along, right? Very cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of lower him down and make sure that there's some kind of a knee bend going on, right? Just so he doesn't feel like he's suspended too high in the air, right? You don't want to do that. We want to make sure that he's kind of bending his knee a little bit. And before we do anything else, let's just kind of work on the legs first, and then we can add more motion to it and kind of talk through it, right? So one thing I know for sure, right, and that is I want to select all of the keys and I want to copy them to 24. Okay, so I'm going to say paste. The reason I want to do that is because I want a seamless loop animation. So whatever happens on 0, I want it to be identical on 24. So we'll just keep copying these as we make more and more tweaks to make sure that we are indeed creating a loop, right? Very nice. Now one of the things I'm realizing is that my thumb here is actually going through the weapon, and let me actually tweak this a little better. So I'll do something like that. All right, I want to make sure that it's not going through the thumb. Very cool. Let me make sure that's the same situation here as well. And let me adjust this a little more. Maybe I can even rotate it, right? So it doesn't, the thumb is kind of free from the sword. And let's see, so right now we're 24 as I'm adjusting it, and I do have my auto keyframe toggle on, right? So it's going to record everything I'm doing. So keep that in mind, make sure this button is on as well. So on 24, I'm gonna adjust these, and I'm also gonna adjust the fingers. I would like to close them a little closer to the handle as well. So let me do that with both of them, right? I'm gonna grab both of these fingers and kind of just adjust them to hold the weapon a little tighter, right? You can see what that looks like. I think that's pretty good. The thumb I think is fine, right? I'm not really, I don't really need the thumb to do anything else. That's fine, but I do want to have these fingers be a little closer in. So let's do this, and let me do the same thing with this one, and also close it in, right? All right, I think that that feels pretty good. He's not holding it too tight. He's kind of loosely holding the weapons, all right? Now, since I adjusted this, right, again, I want to make sure that my 24 and 0 are exactly the same. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to copy my keys, and now I'm going to go to 0, and I'm going to paste them, right? So now if I go between the two, you can see that they are exactly the same. Awesome, right? That's exactly what I want. Very cool. So now since we have the first kind of a step for our first keyframe, let's go halfway to like 12, and let's reverse these, right? So I'm going to take this, I'm going to press W, and I'm going to move it where this foot is. So essentially move it back here. Okay. And now I'm going to press S to set keys for rotation and translation. And I'm going to grab this foot here and move it forward where the left foot was, and do the same thing. I'm going to press S to set keys for rotation as well. And the reason I need to set the rotation and translation is because when we lift the foot up, I want to make sure that it kind of stays planted on the ground, right? As we start doing kind of in-betweens, middle keys, right? Very cool. So at this point, he should be kind of skiing on the ground, and let's see if that's the case. All right, so here he is. He's kind of skiing in place. Very nice. Next, let's go ahead and go to 6, and let's decide what's going on here. So as this left foot goes back, right, we see his right foot is kind of sliding towards the front. So what I need to do is on 6, I'm going to take this foot and I'm going to lift it up in the air. So I'm going to simply lift it up just like this. I'm going to press E and rotate it. Okay, and now I have something along these lines. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with this foot. I'm going to select his left foot. I'm going to go to frame 18. And as he's moving it forward, right, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm gonna press W, and same, I'm just gonna lift it up, press E, and kind of lower his foot down, right? So now we have something along these lines. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how that's looking. I'm gonna press play. All right, so now I have kind of this generic basic robot walk, and he looks very robotic because nothing else at this point is moving, and that is not very natural, right? So let's start playing around with some of the things that we can adjust and add to our walk cycle. And what I would like to do is I'm going to grab this middle controller, and that's called the body controller in this current rig. And what I'm going to do is, let's talk about this. As the body, as he kind of steps forward, right, on 6, I'm going to press S, I'm going to press W, and I'm going to move him up. All right. So now as the right leg comes up, his whole body kind of moves up, right? You can see that. And then what happens here is he goes to 12, and let's go ahead and lower him back down, okay, to something like this. And then on 18, as his left foot moves up, let's go ahead and do the same thing. Let's just bring him back up. All right, and now if we play the animation, we have something like this. It's a little more interesting, right? But we can definitely do better. But it's already starting to look like some kind of a walk cycle, right? One of the other thing, let's just keep adding more and more to our animation, right? So we know as he comes up, maybe one of the things we can do is we can grab, let's go ahead and grab both of these shoulders, right? So I'm gonna select this guy, hold down the Shift key, select this one, and I'm gonna press W. And what I like to do is I'm gonna move his shoulders up. So the shoulders are kind of moving up as the body goes up. And then on 12, the shoulders, I'm gonna press S, come down. So maybe we can really lower them down a lot. And then on 18, they're gonna go back up, right? And let's make sure we don't have any kind of strange tearing or anything. All right, let's press play. And now we have this very cool kind of shoulder movement as he's walking, and maybe it's a little too dramatic, right? Maybe it's a little too much. So maybe let's just raise this back up and just adjust this and see if we like it, right? All right, that's a little more interesting. Let's go ahead and add something to his head, right? I'm gonna select the head controller, and we remember yesterday we could actually activate the neck translation. Let me turn this on, and we talked about this in the yesterday's video. But if you turn on the neck translation and select the head and press W, you can see you can actually change the position of the head, and the neck will stretch, which is really cool. And I think we can use this kind of to add a little bit humor to our walk cycle. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go to 12, I'm gonna press S to set a key on the head. I'm gonna go to 6, and let's think about this. As the head goes, as the body and the shoulders go up, right? What happens to the head? I think the head should go up as well, right? So let's go ahead and raise this up, and maybe a little bit forward. And if we wanted to, just to add something to the something interesting, let's just also rotate it just a little bit, right? So now we have something like this, and maybe I can rotate it even more. All right, on 12, if I want, maybe we can just raise this up a little. On 18, let's go ahead and do the same thing. I'm gonna lower it and kind of move it forward. Okay. And let's go ahead and press S, make sure that we have our key. And now let's take a look and make sure that 0 and 24 is still exactly the same. And I'm gonna press play. All right, now he's getting into it. It's starting to look a little more interesting, right? Very cool. Now, the next big thing is gonna be his arms, right? His arms look really stiff, like he's holding 2 heavy water buckets or something, right? And maybe that's not, you know, the best. Let's go ahead and adjust that as well, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, let's go ahead and select this controller here, and holding down the Shift key, I'm gonna select this controller. And what I would like to do is I'm gonna go to 0 and press S to set a key. Let's go to 12 and press S, and 24, right? So essentially we just set 3 keys for our forward kinematics arms, right? And now let's start animating this, right? So I'm gonna grab this right arm first, and I know that because the left leg is forward, right? I know that I want the right arm to be forward as well. So I'm gonna move this forward just like this, okay? And now as the left leg goes back, right, all the way back, I want the right arm to also go all the way back, right? All right, very cool. So now we have something like this. And now let's go ahead and repeat the same action for the other leg, but we want to make sure we grab this 0 keyframe, go to 24, and let's go ahead and paste that as well, right? So now 0 is going to be the same as 24, and now this kind of makes sense. All right, very cool. Let's go ahead and do this arm next. I'm going to select this one, go to 0, and now if this leg is back, I want the left arm to be back, right? Just like that. Again, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to make sure that 24 is exactly the same. And on 12, as the right leg is forward, I want the left arm to be forward also. All right, let's press play and see what we got. So now we got this really fun, kind of a basic walk cycle, right? And we got here very quickly. At this point, once you have kind of the core structure of this, now it's just a matter of tweaking it and making it more fun. Another thing, let's go ahead and just add something more on his chest, right? If I go to 0, let me see what I can do with the chest. Definitely got to use this. And let's talk about this. As the left leg is forward, right? Maybe he is kind of leaning in, right? He's really determined to get to his destination, right? That's very important to him. So I'm going to press S to set a key, and I know technically I don't need to because my auto keys are on, but I did. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy 0, go to 24, and I'm going to paste that in. All right. And then right here, as he gets to the middle of the animation, let's go ahead and press S, right? So the head is still, or the chest is still forward, right? As his right leg comes up. But now let's do in betweens, right? So in betweens, if he's halfway to 6, maybe right here, he's kind of leaning back a little bit because he's gaining, he's moving his right leg forward, so he's kind of using all of his body to do that, and for that reason, he's kind of leaning back, right? So I think that makes sense. Let's go ahead and copy this number 6 and go to 18, and same thing here, right? As he's bringing his left leg forward, let's do the same thing. I'm just going to paste his chest back as well, and now if I press play, I have something like this. It's kind of a comical, right? And the more, you can see the more little elements you add to different body parts, the more entertaining the walk becomes, right? And of course, you know, if you want to raise his knee up, right, and then slam his foot down, so all of these things are super important. And you know, one of the things right now I'm looking, just you can see that the wrists look really stiff, like the whole arm right here feels way too stiff. So let's just add a little more movement here as well, right? Just keep adding more and more. So I'm gonna go to 0, I'm gonna press S, and I'm gonna set the key for 12 and 24. And let's go ahead and do the same thing on this one too. I'm gonna select the elbow, press S on 0, 12, and 24. And now let's talk about this as well, right? So as the left leg is forward, maybe the elbow can be bent a little bit, just a little, right? So we'll do something like that. And then as he's moving back, we don't want to bend the elbow, right? We kind of want it straight, so that's fine. And then as it comes here, we want to make sure that our 0 is exactly the same as 24. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. And now I have this kind of a fun bending arm action going on as the arm raises up. But when it goes back, right, it's not bent, it's totally straight. So let me do the same thing with this one, right? I'm going to select this. And we already set the keys. So when the arm is back, I want it to be straight. That's perfect. I'm going to go to 12. And then here I would like to add the little bend as well. All right. Now when it goes back again, it's going to be straight. All right, let's see what we got. Very cool. He's really determined. And now you can see that the bend didn't really add that much to the animation, but it does make it feel a little more organic, right? It's a little less robotic because it's the elbow is moving, the shoulder is moving, you know, the chest and the head is moving. So now let's keep adding more. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with the wrists, right? I'm gonna go to 0, press S, 12, press S, 24, press S, and I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. Let me make sure that I select the right controller. I want this wrist one right here. Okay. Same 0, 12, and 24. And let's talk about this now. So now, as the arm goes back, maybe I want to lower the wrist a little bit. So there's like a little bit of a movement there. Okay. And then as it goes forward, maybe I actually want to move it this way. So I want to make sure again that 0 and 24 is the same. And let's go ahead and do this one. I'm going to select this arm. On 0, I want this to be down, right? Just like the right side. And then I'm going to copy that to 24. And then on 12, I want to make sure that this wrist is kind of bending in, just like we did with the other arm. All right, very cool. Let's check it out and press play. All right, and now it's even more kind of liquidy and a little more wobbly, right? It's a little more fun. All right, that's pretty amazing. And a lot of fun. I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So one of the things that we also know in our previous video that hopefully you watched is that you can actually animate the bandana as well, right? So let's go ahead and do that. How do we do that? Well, if you remember, if you select the stop controller, in here, there's something called bandana visibility. So, and that's going to be the controller visibility group, right? Or I guess widget. So I'm going to select this bandana and I'm going to drag it to the right, and that's going to give me these controllers, right? Now, let's select the front one, and we need to set a key on 0. And what I'm going to do is I would like to start and getting this maybe into a more fun position. Let's move this up, and I'm gonna make sure I set the key on that one. Let's go ahead and grab this one and move this up as well, and just change it a little bit, right? I'm gonna set a key there as well. Very cool. All right, so let me select these all three, right? I'm gonna copy the keys and I'm gonna put them on 24. Once again, I want to make sure that I have a nice loop. Let's go to 12. Let's go ahead and paste these as well. And now let's create some kind of a change, right? So maybe here I'm going to press W, and let me just move this up. So there's some kind of a, some kind of a movement, right? Let's grab this middle one and just create kind of a movement here. Maybe I can press E and just bend it a little more. All right, and right here, actually, I wouldn't mind if this was down like this. So this way, when the head goes up, right, the gravity starts to kind of kick in and the bandana goes down. I think that makes sense. And you know what, just to keep things organized, let's go to 6. And then, of course, we can press W and move this lower, right? So like this, and you know what? I actually like this a little bit higher. And then it's gonna go back down, and then right here, as he comes up, I want to do the same thing as the other one. So let me select all three of these. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm gonna select all three of these. I'm gonna copy this 6, and I'm gonna copy it on, paste it on 18, right? Okay, and let's see how that looks. I like it. I think it adds a little fun extra something, right? Let's go ahead and do the same thing on this side. And again, I'm going to select this main one, go to 0. I'm going to press S, press E, and let me move this up. Okay. And then let me make sure that all of these are set. Let's go to 24, press S, go to 12, press S, and now let's start messing this. So on 6, same thing, right? The whole thing just gonna go up. So I'm gonna press W and just move this way up and then move the end way down. And maybe press E to create that rotation that we had on the other side, right? Something like that. All right, now I need to just simply select all of these controllers, copy my 6, and let me paste it on 18. All right, and let's take a look and see how it's looking. I like that. If you wanted to hide the controllers just for a minute while you're reviewing your animation, you can always go to viewport and just turn off the NURBS curves, right? You can do that. And that's going to give you a really good preview of the character. All right, I actually would love to add a little movement to his lower jaw as well. Why not, right? Let's go to viewport, let's turn this back on. And again, from our previous video, we remember if we select this top piece, we can turn on something called jaw, right? And there it is. And now let's go ahead and animate the jaw, right? So I'm gonna select this, go to 0, press S, go to 24, press S, go to 12, press S. And now what I would like to do is, I think when he's forward, he should kind of close his teeth, right? And maybe as he gains the energy to move his legs, that's when he kind of relaxes, well, not relaxes, but he kind of lowers his jaw down, right? So I'm gonna open this up and let's take a look. So now here he's like all in, here he is in motion, right? It's down, and then it's gonna close again, and then here it's gonna be down again, right? And let's see if we like that. I think that's fine. I think that's a lot of fun. I think that's pretty cool. Let's think about the fact that these toes, right? When he plops the toes down, when he plops them down right here, it would be cool if there was like a little instant of them going up before they plop down, right? Before he does this. So like right here would be cool if the toes were pointing up and then they kind of went down. So let's take a look and see if we have some controllers. Let's click on this guy here and let's find toes. I see toes right here. Let me turn that on. Ooh, all right, so now we have even more controllers to play with, all right? All right, so now since we have our toes, let's set the keys for all the toes, right? Because we kind of like how they all end up already, right? So let me, holding down the shift key, I'm going to select kind of these back controllers, and that seems to grab all the forward ones as well. So I'm gonna press S on 0, 12, and 24. And let me just double check. If I click on this one, it actually didn't work. So let me set this again really quick. All right, so now this one has the keys on all 3. This one does too. Let me just double check. All right, that's all looking good. How about this one here? Let's do the same thing. So we got 0, 12, and 24. Okay. And let me just double check and make sure all the keys are set. All right, they are. Okay, cool. Now we can move his toes around. Now we kind of anchored them all in and we know it's not going to mess us up, right? Again, as the right leg goes up, right here, I would like the toes to start bending in. So I'm gonna set this key here for these two in front. So this one and this one. I'm gonna set a key. And then right here on 9, I'm gonna press E and I'm gonna curl them up. All right, and I can even press W, and let's see if I can stretch them a little bit. I think I can. All right, and now as they plop down to 12, you can see how they kind of just add a little something extra, right? Right here on 6, if I wanted to, I can actually bend the toes back a little bit. So then they kind of start bend, and then they go up, and then they plop down. And let's do the same thing with this foot as well. So I'm gonna grab this guy and this guy. And let me do the same thing, right? As the leg goes up, on 18, I'm gonna press S, and I'm gonna start moving them back a little bit. And then on 21, I want to move them up. I'm gonna press W, move them forward a little bit, and then they plop back down on 24. All right, I'm not sure if you can actually see this in our animation, but let's see if you can. And I'm gonna turn off my curves. All right, it's looking good, right? It's something is happening there, but it doesn't quite has the impact that I was looking for. So for that reason, let me also animate these back controllers as well, right? So I'm gonna grab this one, and right here, I'm gonna press S, E, and I really wanna move this up a lot, so it's a little more dramatic. And let me do the same thing with this one, right? I'm gonna grab these back ones, and right here, as he moves up, let me move this up a lot more. All right, let's take a look and see if that's better. All right, so I kind of like this. I think it totally adds just very subtle, you know, like a toe flop, right? Just adds a little more humor to the whole thing. Now, the other thing I would like to do is maybe let's see if we can do something with the shell as well. I'm gonna select this top one. I'm gonna find my shell. That's right here. Let's go ahead and turn that on. Now we have this controller. And let's see what we can do here. If I press E, right, I can do that. Don't really want to do that. Let's go to 0. Let's select this main controller, right? I'm going to press S on, again, 0, 12, and 24. And let me see this. So if this goes, as his body goes up on 6, I'm going to press W, and I'm going to move this up. Maybe the shell is sliding up a little bit from the momentum of him going up, right? And then right here is gonna go back down. And let me make sure that it's enough, and maybe I can even pull this back a little more, and then up. Really wanna see if I can get that moving. All right, and then let me copy this 6, and I'm gonna put it on 18. Okay. And I'm starting to see a little tearing there. So one of the things I can do is I can press E, and maybe I can move it forward. And let me copy that on 6 as well. All right, that's gonna cover that hole there, right? And there's a hole here as well that I'm seeing, right? So maybe I can move this actually forward as well. And let me see if 0 needs it. Yep, I see it on 0 too. Let me copy, rotate that, copy that, and make sure that 24 is the same. All right, and now if I press play, you can see this additional commotion with the shell, right? It looks like it's bopping up and down. I think that a lot, you know, adds like a really interesting addition. Now there's another quick way to hide this. So instead of going to show and going to viewport and then hiding the NURBS curves, right? There's actually something in the outliner. If you're looking at the character and you're just going back and forth all the time, you could just select this right here and just press H. And that's going to hide that just for a second, right? Maybe that's a little bit easier actually to deal with. and we can see what that looks like. I think he's going to get his dinner. That's what it looks like. He's hungry. All right, I'm liking everything. If you are a perfectionist, you might realize that the pouches look too stiff, and on top of that, they're actually going into the legs, right? Could we fix this? And I think we could. Let's go ahead and turn this back on by pressing H. And let's go ahead and select our top controller. And let's see if we have something called pouch. And I know that we do from yesterday's video. Pouch, I'm going to turn that on. Right now I have all these controllers for the pouch. Let me select this one. Let me select all the controllers for all 4 of them. And just like before, let's go to 0, press S, 12, and 24. All right, now we can start animating this. So one of the things I see right away is there's a problem right here. So what I would like to do is I'm going to grab this controller here, press E, and let me see if I can just rotate this up. And I can, right? Let's do something maybe like this, right? So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to make sure that 24 has that as well. That's important. Let's go to 12. Let's see if we like this. I think this works on 12, right? All right, and let's see what that actually would look like. I think that's pretty awesome, right? It's adding a little extra animation to the pouch. All right, I actually like that. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with this guy here. I'm going to select the stop controller, go to 0. And I'm going to press E, and let me adjust that as well. Let's go ahead and copy it to 24 also. On 12, I think it also looks pretty good, so we're good there. And now we just have to do the right side, right? So let's go ahead and do same thing. I'm going to select this, go to 0. That looks great. On 12, that's a problem. So I'm going to press E, move this up. All right, and that's great. Let's go ahead and select this one and do the same thing. Press E and just move this up. Wonderful. All right, let's go ahead and press play. Very cool. Am I missing anything? I am. I'm missing the tail. The tail is completely 100% stiff. That is unacceptable. Let's do the tail. So let's go ahead and select the top. Let's find the tail right there. Let's turn that on. And wow, the tail has a lot of cool controllers. So let me just grab this middle one. Same thing, 0, 12, 24. And let's talk about this. All right, now we just have to decide when does it make sense for the tail to go back. I think maybe on 6. Let's just see if we can rotate this up. And we'll copy that 6 to on our 18 as well, and let's just see if that makes sense. I think so, right? Let's see if we can also maybe move this as well, right? Let's do the same thing. I'm going to set all the keys, and on 6 maybe I can move this even higher, and go ahead and copy that to 18 as well. All right, and then press play. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. All right, now he's got a little woomph to his tush. He's marching forward, right? It does feel like he's leaning forward, but it does feel like he's kind of too straight almost. I don't know why. So I'm gonna select this, and right here, I know that we bent his chest forward, but you know what? We never really bent his waist or his hips forward, right? So let me just maybe do this. And I'm going to do that on 24 as well. All right, and then he's going to go up. And then here, let's go ahead and move this forward as well. All right, now if I press play, maybe that's a little bit too much, but now it adds a little more weight I feel like a little more weight to his walk cycle. But I feel like I did it too much, right? So let me fix that. I'm gonna copy that. And let me fix this here as well. All right. All right, very nice. Now, the final thing that we haven't done yet, right? We've worked on all the pieces, but one of the things that you're gonna realize as you're looking at this is that it doesn't feel like right here, as he puts all of his weight on his left leg, right? His body looks very straight, like it's pointing forward, right? We don't want that. We actually want to tilt this a little more to the right, right? So all of his weight with his heavy shell and these weapons, right? He's really kind of stepping forward and moving towards his leg, right? That's important. And then as he goes back up, it kind of stabilizes. And then right here on 12, when he drops his right leg down, we need the same thing. We need all of his weight to kind of shift this way. And then same thing here, go up. And then let's just copy this from 0, right? I'm gonna copy this. And let's go ahead and paste it. Now if I press play, you can see that that looks much, much better, because now he's really, he's really leaning into his walk, right? Now, one of the things that I'm realizing is maybe I want to adjust the timing. What if I want to slow this down a little bit? How do I do that, right? So it's currently set to 24. If I wanted to take all of these keys, and what if I wanted to slow it down or speed it up, right? What would be the easiest way to do it? This is an opportunity I wanted to show you guys. There's a cool feature in Maya where if you select all of the controllers, you can go to Windows, Animation, and then you can click on something called Time Editor. If you click on Time Editor, you can see that you have a few different options. One of them being add selected content from the scene, right? So check this out. I'm given this cool line, right? And now this line is actually a segment of the entire animation of every single controller. And the really cool thing about this is that now I'm inside something called Time Editor. And Time Editor is really neat because you can actually control the timing of your stuff and not worry about individually tweaking each controller. So what does that mean? If I increase the length of my animation to something like, let's do 36 instead of 24. Now if I come right here, you can see there's something in here called scale mode. If I click on the scale mode and literally just start dragging my clip over to 36, right? The whole thing just got longer. Alright, so now if I press play, you can see that he's actually walking much, much slower. Right, so I was able to edit the timing of this without tweaking the actual timeline. I was using Time Editor, right? So let's say I like this. Let's say I like him walking slower. How do I get this Time Editor clip back onto my timeline? What I could do is I can right-click. I can go to Bake, and then I can say Bake to Scene, and then I can say Bake to Scene and delete, right? So I can actually tell Maya that I'm done editing inside the Time Editor and I want to return back to the scene view. So if I click on that and then close the Time Editor and then press play, you can see the character has now adjusted itself to 36 frames at 30 frames per second, but we have a 36 frame segment walking at a completely different speed, right? Maybe this speed is a little bit better, and then again I can of course hide this. All right, so here's our kind of a final animation of the the walk cycle that we did, and I think that's looking pretty good. Of course, from this point you can add more character on by adjusting different pieces and different parts, and we haven't even played with the graph editor. The entire thing, I did that on purpose. One of the things I wanted to demonstrate is that how far you can take it by just using auto tangents, right? I didn't have to get very technical and adjusting any of the graph curves, right? So if I go into animation and then turn on my controllers, right, you can see that I didn't even play with any of this. And this is where you can go in with the magnifying glass and carefully adjust each curve and each rotation, of course, if you if you wanted to. But I was able to get this result without doing any of that, and that's what I kind of wanted to demonstrate. All right, so this is a brilliant way to have a lot of fun with animation without it being, overly technical or complicated. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I mentioned this before. I would love for you guys to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm trying to kind of ramp up some of my following there. I would appreciate a like of this video, and then if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe, and we will continue making cool stuff. All right, thanks for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.